can all see the screen easily, right? No problem. Good for you. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschachate Satarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We planned to leave a little early just in case there was traffic. And sure enough, we're late. Even leaving early because there was a lot of traffic. My apology, but somebody else is in control. Nrshimadeva Chaturdasi, much anticipated, wonderful festival. I've been pretty absorbed in, one class after the next, describing some details about Prahlad's prayers and the nature of Lord Nrshimadeva. I'll just share one thing that's not in this little set of slides. Rupa Goswami, one of his books is Laghu Bhagavatamrita, and Laghu Bhagavatamrita has a very specific focus, and that specific focus is describing avatars or forms of the Lord as they appear in this world, and it's lots of nice understanding. And one of the things that he describes is a nice definition of Bhagavan. Since you're all learned devotees, you know what Bhagavan means. One who possesses bhagas. Bhagas means opulences, and according to Parashara Muni, there's 6 principal opulences of Bhagavan. So the general idea is Bhagavan possesses all opulences. However, not all Bhagavans or forms of Bhagavan manifest them in their fullness. Some manifest them partially. Some manifest more of this, and some manifest more of that. So there's lots of detail and variety amongst Bhagavan forms. However, there's a particular term, parabhavas, which means there are 3 forms of the Lord where the bhagas are manifested in their fullness. And Lord Nrshimadeva is one. Lord Ramachandra is the other, and Krishna is another. So there's a reason. There are many reasons. This is one of those reasons why the appearance day of Lord Nrshimadeva and the appearance day of Lord Ramachandra, along with Krishna's appearance day, are very special for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, or those who are learning about Bhagavan from Rupa Goswami. Lord Nrshimadeva is very, very special. Special indeed. Now, this is not that particular statement or teaching of Rupa Goswami is not a crossover on rasa, because the fullness of rasa of Krishna is superlative. That's another topic. So this evening, at the time of sunset, where it's neither day nor night, is when Lord Nrshimadeva makes his appearance. And many of us, I don't know what your practice is going to be here or individually, but many of us will be fasting, and there's different levels of fasting, etc., etc. But the breaking of the feast, breaking of the fast will be this evening at sunset. Naturally, when speaking about Lord Nrshimadeva, he appeared because of Prahlad, or the whole pastime of Prahlad was orchestrated for the purpose of Lord Nrshimadeva's appearance. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time going through a little background before Lord Nrshimadeva appeared. Of course, we can go way, way back, but we'll go back to the appearance of the four Kumaras. The four Kumaras, as many of us know, what's wrong? It's on. It's on. A simple thing is just adjust the volume. I don't have to put the microphone next to my mouth, but technology does things like that. Just adjust the volume. Right? Just ask the president. Just adjust the volume. So the four Kumaras were the firstborn of the living entities that came directly from the body of Lord Brahma. And the four names, they're listed here: Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumar. And they had mystic powers. They could travel anywhere they wanted, and they did. Not only anywhere within this universe, but even beyond the universe, they were very powerful mystics. And one of the places they went to was the abode of Lord Vishnu. And there they were met by Jai and Vijay. And when they were met by Jai and Vijay, these two gatekeepers saw these four little naked boys standing at the gate, and they didn't allow them entrance. As you see, they're giving them the hand mudra. You can't come in. Well, there's a little background. Here's a little background. The background is Jai and Vijay were not only, this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It's an embellishment, but it's nice. They didn't just stay at the gates of Vaikuntha, the seventh gate of Vaikuntha. They were guarding the Supreme Lord, because he doesn't need to be guarded, because where's the opposition in Vaikuntha? But that was their service. So one time, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains, Narayana wanted to take a nap. Now he doesn't need to take a nap, but it was a pastime to take a nap. And he asked Jai and Vijay, please guard the door and don't let anybody enter. Yes, sir. So while he's taking a nap, Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, wanted to enter. And they said, sorry, you cannot enter because Lord Narayan is taking a nap. And she was very upset. Now, what's the goddess of fortune doing getting upset and being not allowed to enter and all those? It's a pastime. Even in Vaikuntha there's such pastimes. So she waited. And then when Lord Narayan finished his nap, Jai and Vijay let her enter. and she entered and came in to see Narayan and told Narayan what happened. And she said, you should punish these two. Now, sometimes a married man is in a conflict because his good wife may want something, but it wasn't contradictory to him because he had asked Jai and Vijay, don't let anyone in. He didn't qualify anyone, he just don't let anyone in, and they followed what he wanted. But she wanted that there be some punishment. So the punishment came in the form of their being cast into the material world. But that was Lakshmi's desire. So poor Narayan, he's in conflict with what he had asked Jai and Vijay. Meanwhile, the solution came when Jai and Vijay, this is again Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, because of their intimate service with Narayana, they understood that he has various secondary rasa moods, and one of them is chivalry. It's one of the 7. And so they prayed to him silently, our dear Lord, if you so desire, we can do that service and be in opposition to you so you can experience the rasa of chivalry. So that made a solution for the conflict. And then the next conflict was the 4 Kumaras cursed Jai and Vijay. So poor Narayan, he's got to allow the 4 Kumaras, they're brahmanas, and their word must be upheld. They were cursed. So it's a win-win-win. What's that? Jai and Vijay were cursed to enter the material world and be in opposition to Narayana to fulfill his chivalrous desire. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, wanted them to be punished, so they were punished. And they got the opportunity to be in a position of conflict with him. So everything was nice. It's a pastime. And it's an extraordinary pastime. Our acharyas repeat this multiple times. It's not the usual way that demons come because of something like this. It's a most extraordinary circumstance. So when they were checked, on the upper left it shows Jai and Vijay were taken aback. Because of your qualities of passion and ignorance, you're unfit to live in the shelter of Madhu Dvisha, the enemy of Madhu. Madhu Dvisha. Because here in Vaikuntha, there's no modes of nature, and you're obviously in the modes of nature, and therefore you don't belong here. You take your birth, there's details. So many births as devotees and so many births as demons. They chose the demons because they would come back more quickly. Plus, it fulfilled their desire to be in opposition to the Supreme Lord. So, Jai and Vijay descended into the material world on the order of the 4 Kumaras. And for those 3 births as demons, first, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha in Satya Yuga, Ravana and Kumbhakarna in the next Yuga, Treta Yuga, Shishupal and Dantavakra in Dwarapa Yuga. And then their business was finished and they returned to the position of gatekeepers in Vaikuntha. Another nice BBT painting I like. This is after they entered into the gates of Vaikuntha. They were fascinated by Lord Narayana. Particularly one of them was really fascinated with his lotus feet. And very affectionate, another nice BBT painting, engaged with Lakshmi Narayana and the 4 Kumaras, and each of the forms of his devotees having 4 arms like him. And they were very happy being in Vaikuntha instead of being barred from the gates of Vaikuntha. So straight away, Jai and Vijay descended into the material world. And when they descended in the material world as the 2 sons of Kashyapa and Diti, the whole earth trembled due to their inauspicious demoniac appearance. So this fellow on the left, that's Hiranyaksha, that's the younger brother. He was interested in helping his elder brother. So one of the things that he did, Prabhupada describes this, is he gathered gold from wherever he could. Now many of you have heard, I've heard. He dug a tunnel from one side of the earth planet to the other side of the earth planet and found gold in Brazil. You've heard that one? No? Tunnel through the earth from one side of the earth to the other side and got gold from Brazil and carted the gold back to make the golden city for Hiranyakashipu because he liked gold. But because he removed gold from one place and put it in another place, it fell out of orbit. The earth fell out of orbit. It was imbalanced. And so when it became imbalanced, it plunged into the Garbhodak Ocean. That's what the painting on the right is. That's the Garbhodak Ocean, in case you didn't recognize it. And that's the Earth planet that's going to sink to the bottom of the Garbhodak Ocean. And when it sank to the bottom of the Garbhodak Ocean, the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, became very disturbed. One of the planets that Brahma had created is now fallen out of orbit. So what to do, what to do? So the narration in the Bhagavatam explains, he began to meditate what to do, what to do. And as he was meditating what to do, from his nostril came a tiny creature. And the tiny creature was the size of the tip of a thumb, and it was a boar that got bigger and bigger and bigger, and so big that it was a form of the Lord, Varaha, that then descended to the bottom of the universe. On his tusks he lifted the earth planet to bring it back to its proper position. So the Bhagavatam describes Brahma was observing this Lord Varaha becoming as big as a gigantic elephant. And then he plunged with his hooves into the Garbhodak Ocean, found the earth planet in the bottom of the Garbhodak Ocean, placed the earth planet on his tusks, and lifted the earth planet. The painting on the right shows the demigods watching him emerging from the Garbhodak Ocean, lifting the earth planet on his tusks. Another nice BBT painting showing the same pastime. So, when Lord Varaha did like this, there was a big disturbance when Hiranyaksha, who looks a little different in this painting than he did in the other one, got nice fancy short pants. Very fashionable. Got in a big tussle with Lord Varaha. No, that was a mistake. And Lord Varaha was having fun bashing him and apparently trying to be bashed by Hiranyaksha. And he was enjoying the chivalry. This was his desire, Lord Narayan, to enjoy chivalrous combat with someone, but that doesn't exist in Vaikuntha. And so Vijaya was taking this position. And eventually, with one slap of his hoof, he finished Hiranyaksha. And another version says with his Sudarshan chakra, he chopped his head off. So when that happened, earth was safe, Hiranyaksha was finished, but his elder brother was very unhappy because his younger brother had served him so nicely, so faithfully, etc. There's details and details. I'm going quickly, but that's okay because time doesn't permit anything other than going quickly. There was a big ceremony of a funeral. And someone commented yesterday, because we discussed this pastime yesterday, Hiranyakashipu actually had Vedic knowledge. Not only he had Vedic knowledge, but he had knowledge of transcendence. At least knowledge of the eternality of the soul and the temporary nature of this body. And he gave nice teachings to his family members, headed by Diti and others, to understand no cause for lamentation when the soul passes from the body, etc., etc. Having said all that, he took a vow. He's going to take revenge. I mean, there's some inconsistency with the transcendental knowledge and his desire to take revenge. But that's what happened. And when he became very, very angry, the Bhagavatam describes, filled with rage and biting his lips, Hiranyakashipu gazed at the sky with eyes that blazed in anger, making the whole sky smoky. He was a powerful person. So after the funeral and things began to settle, a deep desire awoke in his heart, and that deep desire was because he was so powerful, he was capable, practically speaking, of controlling the whole universe. He wanted to be able to control the universe eternally. He wanted to be God. So he had a plan. And the plan was he wanted to become immortal. So we know what he did. To get immortality, he went deep into the forest and underwent severe austerity. I mean, aside from, on Nrshinga Chaturdasi, many of us will be fasting, but he just didn't fast on Nrshinga Chaturdasi. He fasted for, what's the number of years? Who knows the number of years of austerities that he did? The celestial years? How many? 12,000? 12,000? That's the number? 12,000. Do I hear 20,000? So a long period of time, I forget the number of years, but celestial years. So, and not just fasting for a long time, but he raised his arms above his head and stood on his tiptoes, and he stayed in that position. And try it. For how long can you stand on your tiptoes with your arms raised above your head? And after some time, it can be cool for a while, but he did with such intensity that it's described in the Bhagavatam that flames were coming from his head. Fire was coming from his head. And the demigods were seeing all this happen. And his intention was to capture the favor of Lord Brahma by his austerity. So Mandarachala hill, where he underwent these austerities, while this was going on for the 12,000 celestial years, or whatever it was. I'll have to look it up. The demigods who had lost their kingdom, particularly Indra got run out of town because Hiranyakashipu invaded and took over Indraloka, and they all ran in fear. Powerful, powerful. But now the whisper went out, he's gone. He's in the forest doing austerities. Now's our chance to get our kingdom back. So they came back. And when they came back, they got the kingdom back, but not only they got their kingdom back, they found the wife of Hiranyakashipu, who at that time was pregnant. And so they got this bright idea that within the womb of Hiranyakashipu's wife was Hiranyakashipu Jr. And so they decided they would keep her under safe guard, and when the child was born, kill the child. This is demigod consciousness. Protecting their kingdom consciousness. So as we see in the painting, drawing, Kayadu is in the center, and to the right is Indra, and to the left behind her is Narada Muni. So somehow Narada Muni knows when to appear at the right time and say the right things and do the right things and make everything nice. So that's what happened. He came in for a landing and said, "What are y'all doing?" And they said what they said. And he explained, no. This child that's within her womb, he's a great soul. And just on the word of Narada, they stopped. They circumambulated Kayadu, turned Kayadu over to Narada, because Narada said, "Let me take her to my ashram, and that the child that's born of her should be protected because he's a great soul." That's all it took. I mean, that's pretty exceptional, isn't it? They had a completely different spirit, and just Narada saying, they stopped. That's a good sign. Very good sign. And she made a request of Narada that until my husband returns from doing his austerities in the forest and returns back to the palace, his kingdom, let this child not be born until he returns. So Narada gave his benediction, and that's all it took. And so Prahlad, being situated within the womb of Kayadu, got the benefit of hearing Narada's instructions to Kayadu. But of course, Narada knew what was going on. Not only she's hearing, but the child in her womb is hearing. And it was on that basis that the bhakta of Bhakta Prahlad became enriched for the whole duration of time. It's a long Bhagavatam class. For the whole duration of time that Hiranyakashipu was engaged in austerities in the forest. And after he completed his austerities in the forest, here's the conclusion of his austerities. For so many years, standing with his arms raised in the air, his intention was to get a benediction from Brahma for immortality. So as he is standing there with his arms raised, standing on his tiptoes and not eating and drinking, his body became emaciated. And not only his body became emaciated, but ants started to eat away at his body. Now, on the way down, I saw a sign that says, mosquitoes bite. You know what that sign is? On the way, coming down 441. Mosquitoes bite. So when you get a mosquito bite or an insect bite, ouch. But this wasn't just a bite. They're eating his body. This fellow was very austere. His body was gone. But he had mystic capacity such that he sustained his life by circulating his life air within the hollow of his bones. Shoo-wee. That's how he sustained his life. A very determined fellow. Very austere, very powerful, mystical powers like anything. So when Brahma came to find him, he couldn't find him. He just saw this big anthill. But then he understood why it looked like that. And so from his water pot, he sprinkled some water on the anthill. And by sprinkling the water on the anthill, you see the flames coming from his head, his body became whole again. And as his body became whole again, Hiranyakashipu made his request. What benediction would I like? I'd like to become immortal. Well, sorry, I can't give that which I don't have. So ask for something I can give you. And so we know what he asked. I'll read it. Grant me that I do not die within any residence or outside any residence, during the daytime or at night, nor on the ground or in the sky. Grant me that my death not be brought about by any being created by someone other than you, nor by any weapon, nor by any human being or animal. So Brahma checked all the boxes, no problem. I can grant all that to you. So, you know, Prabhupada comments, this is how materialistic, if they can't get what they want, then they try to go through the back door. They use their calculations to achieve what they want, even if the answer is no. Because immortality is not something that Brahma can give. So Krishna is more intelligent than the intelligent Hiranyakashipu. His body made whole again. He returned back from the forest. Kayadu also returned home, and in due course of time Prahlad was born, the son of Hiranyakashipu and Kayadu. And as he grew up, having heard from Narada, and even before hearing from Narada, he was a great soul, he became a great devotee of Vishnu. That didn't really fit in with Hiranyakashipu's plan, because he wanted him to be like the father, ruthless, demoniac, and he tried to educate his son in that way. He entrusted his son. You're all still awake. I'm happy to see. Because hearing stories are nice, but sometimes people fall asleep even when hearing nice stories. So you're a good group. I'm complimenting you. There are two names. Many of you know those two names. The chief priest of the demigods and the chief priest of the demons. Brahaspati is the chief priest of the demigods, and Shukracharya is the chief priest of the demons. And Shukracharya had two sons, and we're going to hear their name a bunch of times. Shanda and Amarka were put in charge of the Asura Kula. And their assignment was to train the students to become nice asuras, just like their parents. However, Prahlad, it didn't go in. He was not inclined. So, just to continue the story, one day, the affectionate father, who was given the assignment to Shanda and Amarka to train up his son to be a nice demon, invited his son to come see him, placed his son on his lap, and asked his son, what's the best thing that he's learned from his teachers, plural. Now, he was thinking Shanda and Amarka. Prahlad wasn't thinking Shanda and Amarka, he was thinking Narada Muni. And so Prahlad gave a very blunt reply, which Hiranyakashipu didn't like. Those persons who have this material consciousness of thinking this is mine and that belongs to my enemy should give up his household life and go to the forest and worship the Supreme Lord. That's the best thing that I've learned. What? Hiranyakashipu was livid, and he called Shandanamarka and said, "What's going on? How did this happen? How did you allow this to happen?" They said, "We didn't teach him these things. We don't know where he learned these things." So Hiranyakashipu speculated, maybe one friend in school polluted my son, so you better keep close vigilance and make sure he becomes a good asura. That's your assignment, or else. And so they tried. They took him back and gave him special tutorial lessons in how to become a good asura. But it didn't go in. It didn't go in at all. In fact, he spoke to them in very transcendental terminology that they were shocked. Where did you learn these things? And of course, he didn't say, I learned it from Narada while I was in the womb of Kayadu. He gave some similar answers that you won't understand because you're too much attached in the bodily conception of life. That was pretty disturbing for them to hear. They were frustrated. He wasn't a good student, a good asura kula student. And so the next we hear is episode number 2, where Hiranyakashipu again asked Prahlad, sets him on his lap, "What's the best thing have you learned from your teachers?" And he started describing devotional service. Who knows the verse? Anybody here know the verse? The 9 processes of devotional service that Prahlad recited? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. Go ahead. Mataji? Very good. And then there's a second verse where he said, these are things that I've learned, and that they can bring one to the stage of perfection and become a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. Very unpretentious, very fearless. One might say foolish. Why speak such things before a demon like Hiranyakashipu? There's going to be a reaction. Sure enough, there was a reaction. And he became extremely angry. And he ordered that he should be killed. He was not a nice father. And so the efforts to kill Prahlad were many. There's some very nice illustrations. Being trampled by an elephant, but he ended up being on the head of the elephant instead of under his foot. Being boiled in a vat of boiling oil, and Prahlad just was chanting nice prayers to Lord Vishnu. Being bitten by poisonous serpents, but nothing happened. I like this one. He was ordered to be pushed off a cliff to the jagged rocks below. Here's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur commenting. Purposefully, Lord Vishnu didn't show himself till the last moment because he wanted to see what's Prahlad going to do. Is he going to scream? Is he going to cry? What's he going to do? But he just remained very calm, and at the last moment, Lord Vishnu came and caught him. Danger-free. There's the elephant again, and the serpents, and the fire, and the boiling oil. So many ways. The attempt was there to kill him, but he was unkillable. So that gave great fear to Hiranyakashipu. And Shandanamarka said, don't worry, he's a little boy, he'll get over all this stuff and we'll work him over, we'll take care of him. So what to do? Somehow this boy is powerful, but I have to trust Shandanamarka. So back in school, and one day Shandanamarka had to take care of some household duties, and so they left the classroom. And what do kids do when a teacher leaves the classroom? Play. So the boys wanted to play, and Prahlad said, no, no, no. Who knows the verse? Komara acharat pragyo. Go ahead. Yes. Tadapi adruvam artadam. It's very difficult to get this human form of life, but it can give the greatest arta, the greatest benefit. And that the cultivation of that greatest benefit should begin from the tender age of childhood. So he gave a whole chapter's worth of teachings of what happens in the course of life that are distractions. So don't waste your time with the distractions. Begin in childhood. And the boys in the class, they liked what they heard, but they asked, where'd you learn all this? Because we've not heard any of this, and you're in the same classroom that we are. And then he shared, I learned it from Narada when I was in the womb, and my mother forgot everything because as soon as she got together with Hiranyakashipu, she forgot everything again. But I haven't forgotten. And moreover, the goal of life is devotional service to Vishnu, so he engaged them in chanting the holy name. This is in Satya Yuga, but people chanted the holy name in Satya Yuga too. And they liked it. They liked it, but when Shanda and Amarka came in the classroom and saw the boys like this, they went immediately to Hiranyakashipu and said, look what your son is doing. We've tried and we've tried and we've tried. So Hiranyakashipu called for his son and confronted him and challenged him. He's on the one hand, he's afraid of his son. He's so powerful. He tried to kill him in so many ways, but he didn't get killed. So where are you getting your power? And the answer? From the same place you are, Dad. From Vishnu. Vishnu, where is this Vishnu? He's everywhere. Oh, he's everywhere. Is he in this pillar? Commentary says, Lord Nrshimadeva peeked from behind the pillar and waved and said, yeah, he's in the pillar. So if he's in the pillar, then let him try to save you. Why is he not present before me in the pillar? And there's Prahlad seeing Lord Nrshimadeva behind the pillar, pointing, look at, there he is. And so, of course, there's different versions. One is he smashed with his sword, another is he smashed with his clenched fist, and the pillar broke open. Now, one of the presentations I made is there's a soundtrack. I'll share with you. A soundtrack of Hiranyakashipu, Lord Nrshimadeva bursting from the pillar. Once upon a time, I was a new devotee. The temple that I had visited, the Boston temple, it was 1970. In the, because I was looking to see about going to grad schools in Boston and just happened to go to the temple. There's some story. And that particular day I went was Nrsimha Chaturdasi, but I didn't know anything about anything. They had a drama about Lord Nrsimadeva's appearance. And I didn't know anything about Lord Nrsimadeva's appearance. I didn't know anything about Nrsimha Chaturdasi. I didn't know anything about anything. And, along the wall of the Alston Street Temple was a tall curtain, very thick curtain that went down to the floor. And I didn't know this. But behind the curtain was Lord Nrsimadeva in the form of Murlidhar Prabhu, who was a Prabhupada disciple, who was a very intense person, at the same time very gentle, very soft-spoken, very kind, but he always played demons in the dramas. And there was a time when there was always dramas. It wasn't just little kids doing little kid dramas. It was like dramas. So after the arti, they're doing this drama, and it was time for Lord Nrshimadeva to appear. And from behind the curtain, his arms outstretched like this, was Murlidhar, roaring so loud. I think that, if my memory is, they also played the sound of the roaring of Lord Nrshimadeva, and he jumped around the room and he grabbed Hiranyakashipu and he threw him across his lap and ripped him apart, and these things came out of his abdomen, the intestines, and put him around his neck and roared and looked around the room. And these are new people that didn't know anything about anything. It was fantastic. So I like Krishna consciousness. This is great. Lots of fun. So he came out of the pillar to prove that the Supreme Lord is present everywhere, even within the pillar of the assembly hall. Lord Hari exhibited wonderful form never before seen. You know, Hiranyakashipu looks pretty astonished. Prahlad looks pretty peaceful. And then a battle ensued between them, and we know what happened. The battle went on because, again, this was the desire of Lord Narayan to experience chivalry, because it doesn't exist in Vaikuntha. You know, it doesn't exist in Vaikuntha, but who is Vishvaksena? What learned devotee here knows who is Vishvaksena in Vaikuntha? Vishvaksena is the commander-in-chief. There's a military. There's no need for military, but it's a service. Vishvaksena is that person. But there's no troubles in Vaikuntha. So this is the Lord experiencing chivalrous rasa, and he played with him like a cat plays with a mouse. You ever seen that? When I was young, we had a male cat and a female cat. And guess what happened? There were lots of kittens. And when there were circumstances where the cat would find a mouse, the cat would corner the mouse and just stare at the mouse. And the mouse is trembling. And the mouse would try to run this way, and the cat would just put her paw out and you can't go that way. Bring him back. Stare at the mouse. The mouse would tremble, try to run that way. So cats would play with mice, even when they're captured. Hiranyakashipu was being played with by Lord Nrshimadeva, this way, that way. And then it came time he finished him. He placed him on his lap on the veranda, so as neither inside nor outside, nor neither land, sea, or air, and so forth and so on. He upheld the word of Brahma. At the same time, he easily tore Hiranyakashipu to pieces, put the intestines around his neck like a garland, and roar. And when that happened, Hiranyakashipu had his buddies, and his buddies all came to the foreground to take revenge. Unfortunately for them, Lord Nrshimadeva manifested more arms and a louder roar, and he finished them all. Look at that fellow up in the upper right. He's upside down and being tossed around by Lord Nrshimadeva. And the demigods observed all this. This is the demigods on the left and the right. The demigods were very grateful because they had appealed to Lord Vishnu to please protect them from this wicked Hiranyakashipu. And so they offered their prayers, didn't work because he remained angry, and so we know what happened. Even the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, was afraid of this form. This question came yesterday when discussing this pastime. She had seen this form before. She is the goddess of fortune. She had been with him when other yuga cycles were going on. She saw that form. That form exists in the spiritual world, in Vaikuntha realm. But she was as if she had not seen him ever before. That's Leela Shakti, according to our acharyas. It was arranged so that Prahlad could be requested by Lord Brahma to go forward before the angry Lord Nrshimadeva. And as soon as he got before Lord Nrshimadeva, his anger subsided. He placed his hand on his head, gave benedictions to Prahlad because he wanted him to offer prayers, and Prahlad wanted to offer prayers, so that benedicting hand passed on Brahmagyan. So a little boy that has barely begun school is now going to be able to offer fantastic prayers. So there's pages and pages, 2 chapters of his nice prayers, just in the 7th canto, and then what to speak of other places in the 5th canto Bhagavatam. From Brihat Bhagavatamrita, I'm going to try to wrap up. This is a cut and paste from Sanatana Goswami. Right after killing Hiranyakashipu, Lord Nrsimadeva blessed Prahlad to become greater than all other devotees, past and present, including the residents of Vaikuntha, his personal attendants, Garuda, even his beloved consort, Lakshmi. Prahlad is very dear and given special attention by Lord Nrsimadeva. And so when we're speaking about Nrsimha Chaturdasi, we have to speak about Prahlad. There are other scriptural references besides the Bhagavatam that speak of this. Here's one from Hari Bhakti Sudodaya. The Lord, who is friendly only to his devotees, then sat down on the ground and put Prahlad on his lap. Gently rocking back and forth, he patted Prahlad with his lotus hand and embraced him repeatedly, as a mother embraces her child. And this reference is drawn from Brihan Narasingha Purana. Lord Nrsimadeva licked Prahlad's limbs as an ordinary lioness grooms her cub. And there's a painting of Lord Nrsimadeva licking the limbs of Prahlad, with poor Hiranyakashipu draped over the ground over there. Lord Nrsimadeva wanted to bestow benedictions upon Prahlad, but Prahlad refused. What did he say? Our relationship is not that of a merchant. I'm not a vanik. Those of you from India, you know the word vanik. Means a business person. Our relationship is not a business relationship. I do this, you do that. Om Jai Jagadisha Hare. It's not like that. Not like that. One thing. You're the master, I'm the servant, there's nothing else. That's Prahlad. He refused the benedictions. Here's a nice description from Vishnu Purana, given by Parashara Muni, the same one that gave these 6 bhagas of Bhagavan, same from Vishnu Purana. Here's a nice prayer, according to the Vishnu Purana, spoken by Prahlad to Lord Nrsimadeva. O Master, and all the thousands of births through which I must wander in this world, please let me have unfailing devotion to you, the infallible Supreme Lord. Meaning, devotional service is the best, not wanting liberation or anything material. So we know the things material. Prabhupada specifically, I just listening to Prabhupada describe, there's 3 desires, bhukti, mukti, and siddhi. So mukti is a material desire, sakale ashanta, that makes the mind unpeaceful, ashanta. Bhukti, sense enjoyment. Siddhi, mystic powers. and even liberation. The aspiration for liberation makes the mind unpeaceful. Prahlad Maharaj fully surrendered at the Lord's lotus feet. If anyone engaged in devotional service of the Lord prays for personal sense gratification, he cannot be called a pure devotee or even a devotee. He may be called only a merchant, engaged in the business of give and take. Similarly, a master who wants to please his servant after taking service from him is not a real master. So he didn't want to take anything, but he wanted to be engaged in service, and he wanted his father to be excused. Lord Nrshimadeva said, it's already done, so ask for something else. I want devotional service to you, lifetime after lifetime. The Lord gave him the benediction that he would be the king of the material world until the end of the Manvantar. And that although in this material world he would have the facility to hear the glories of the Lord and depend fully on the Lord, performing service to him in uncontaminated bhakti yoga. The Lord advised Prahlad to perform sacrifices through bhakti yoga, for this is the duty of a king. So he ruled for a long time. Whatever the Lord offered, he was ready to accept. And here's a nice benediction in case you are concerned about family members. It's good to be concerned about family members, and be concerned this way. 21 generations are liberated if you become a pure devotee. What happens if you don't become a pure devotee? Well, try to become a pure devotee. But if you do become a pure devotee, 21 generations before and after become liberated. Pretty good. Here's a Prabhupada question. Prabhupada, what kind of liberation? Good question, right? The answer Prabhupada gave is, in their next life they'll get an opportunity to engage in devotional service, which is very special. So here we are. Who knows what happened from some of our ancestors or something like that, but we're engaged in devotional service. It's a great opportunity. And you can't do a better service for ancestors or family members or others than becoming pure in devotion. Isn't that nice? So we're going to end because time is up. In the course of my visit to Alachua, a question came up twice, maybe even 3 times. One of the opulences of Bhagavan is beauty. So where's the beauty in Lord Nrshimadeva? You heard that one before? Now you've heard it. Well, take a look at this nice painting. The anger, etc., the roaring, the everything and everything was for the non-devotee, but Prahlad is seeing something else. And the Lord reciprocates with that affection, loving affection, and very, very beautiful affection. Here's a nice painting where Lord Nrshimadeva is feeding Prahlad with his hand, like a mother, that same message. Here's the Lord Nrshimadeva deity in New Vrindavan. Many of you have been there, and some of you will go there at some point if you haven't yet. Here's Lord Nrshimadeva in Sriram Mayapur. Nice story of how that deity became manifest. Here's some scriptures that in detail the pastime of Lord Nrshimadeva. One short message is, in different yuga cycles, there are different Prahlads. So there's different descriptions of the appearance of Prahlad. And who was he in his previous life? And that question that people like to ask all the time. So it's different Prahlads in different circumstances. Ours in the Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 10, Prahlad says that he was sent from Vaikuntha by Lord Nrshimadeva to teach the way of pure devotional service, which he's certainly been doing. Nrshinga Chaturdasi ki jai. So many of you know the story already, and it's nice to hear the story again and again. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu liked to hear the story again and again from Gadadhar Pandit, and I'm not Gadadhar Pandit, but the story is the Srimad Bhagavatam's narration and other narrations. And there's spiritual potency in the sound vibration, clearing away the coverings and the contaminations of forgetfulness and restoring remembrance of the kindness that Lord Nrshimadeva was extending to Prahlad and to those who take shelter of him to this day. He's a very merciful deity. This isn't the time for such descriptions, but there's zillions of descriptions of contemporary circumstances of devotees feeling and experiencing the affection, the kindness, the protection of Lord Nrshimadeva in their life. Real, palpable protection. So he's very kind. So may you all, in the course of today, hear more and become more attracted to the merciful nature, the loving nature, the protective nature of the personality of Godhead in his form as Lord Nrshimadeva. So let's see if there's some discussion or comments, anything you'd like.